Hello and welcome to the podcast. My name is Jocelyn and this is the Positivity in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast, where we strive to work through our thoughts with intentionality to find more positivity. To find more positivity when it seems really hard, and to choose the thoughts that we want to think regarding motherhood and pregnancy instead of being subject to our subconscious and what it feels that we should think. Thank you for joining me. Hi, I'm Jocelyn, host of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast. I help pregnant women and mothers to find positivity in their season of life through changing their thoughts to work for them and not against them. I help mothers find the small, doable steps in thought and action without making drastic changes to their everyday mom life. And I can help you. Thanks for joining. Last week I talked about marriage. Well, last Friday. I actually put out 2 podcast episodes a week. The Tuesday episode is usually geared toward pregnancy and mindset in pregnancy, and then the Friday episodes are geared a little bit towards motherhood and what I am learning. And so last week I talked about marriage and finding more love in your marriage and increasing that love. And I'll give you a little hint, but if you want a deeper dive, I encourage you to listen to that episode. But the hint is, it is the little things. It is the little things that build up over time. I have been married almost 11 years, and it is those little things. At times you are going to have some big things and some pivotal things to work through that definitely will shape your marriage. But most often, what we can do to help strengthen our marriage is the little things. Today I want to talk about love for your children. I have come over the past little while to have new thoughts about children. I feel like society and culture sometimes looks at children as a burden, as something difficult, as another thing to do and get done, kind of almost an item on your checklist. And I noticed that I had some of these thoughts about children and about my children. Sometimes they felt like a burden and took all my time, so where I couldn't even get my pregnancy course that I've been working on done. They required so much that I just get tired, and I kind of was looking at them as a burden. But children are not a burden. They are an heritage from the Lord, as the scripture says. And they will bless our lives and teach us so many things. And as I've been working on shifting my perspective, I have found that to be true. Children need time. They need your time. I know you've probably heard quality over quantity, but my personal opinion is children need quantity. They need a quantity of time. They need your eye contact. They need you to look at them in the eye as you talk to them. They need tender touch. Loving, caring, and kind touch that says, I love you. I put my arm around you and I love you. I'll grab your hand and hold it because I love you. I'll stroke your cheek or rub your back when you are feeling sad because I love you. So in this episode, I am going to go through a lot of different ways that you can show your children love. I've already mentioned 3 of them, but I wanted to kind of interject here and let you know to not get overwhelmed. If you go and try and implement everything on this long list that I'm going to give you, you will get overwhelmed. So I don't want you to do that because overwhelm does not create positivity in motherhood. It creates stress and anxiety. So as you listen to these tips, I want you to pick 1 or maybe 2 that will resonate that resonates with you, and I want you to work on that in regard to your children. Try and implement it a little bit more often. And I think you'll find that it's also the little things when it comes to our children. So the first three tips that I gave you is that they do need your time. They do need your eye contact, and they do need some tender touch. They also need to be listened to genuinely listen to them and conversate with them as if you care what they are talking about. Because as moms, we really do want to care what they are talking about. Sometimes it can be repetitive and boring and a little bit overstimulating. But maybe if we take a little bit more time to genuinely listen, they won't have to go on repeat so often. I don't know. Give it a try. Kids need you to play with them. I am not good at this. I actually have to intentionally set time aside to play with my kids because I can always come up with things to do. I am not naturally good at play. In fact, I don't think I was even good at play as a child. My mom always said, "Why don't you go play and enjoy your childhood? It goes so fast." And now that I have my own kids, I can see her wisdom in that, but I just have an old spirit that, I don't know, hasn't been very good at playing. So I've had to work through that. But we both enjoy it when I take time to play with them. Your children can feel love when you read with them. I love reading to my kids, actually. That is one thing I do enjoy. I like reading books to them, sitting close with all of them on the couch as we read a book together. I love to add voices and make it fun and do my best to pick some good, fun, and wholesome books. Every now and then, though, we get a book from the library that's like, whoa, let's not read that one again. But you just learn from it and you teach your children along with that. Your children need you to laugh with them. My daughter just told me this the other day. She said, "Mom, you and Dad need to laugh with us more." And I'm like, oh boy, you're probably right. Sometimes I get all into responsibility to my to-do list that I forget to take the moments to laugh. You've probably heard the saying, laughter is the best medicine. I really think this is true, but as adults, sometimes we forget to do that, and we especially forget to do it with our kids. Laugh with them. Laugh at jokes that they find are funny, or just laugh because they're laughing. But do your best to laugh with your children. Children can feel love when you cook with them, or you allow them to cook with you. Now, I know for me, I can cook and bake probably 10 times faster than when I have a little child sitting on the counter wanting to dump things in and stir it and splashing things everywhere and making double the mess that I could make. But these are memories that they will hold on to. And these types of experiences will show them that they can learn to cook as well, and that you're patient with them, and that you love them, and that you want to share this experience with them. I'm not always good at this, but I have been trying to, if one of my children wants to sit on the counter while I am making dinner or baking, I try and let them dump a few things. And then if it's something messy, like getting my hands in the dough and I don't really want their hands messy, I will just tell them, "It's mommy's turn, okay? You got to dump all that. Now watch mommy do this." And still try and keep them interactive, but me kind of doing the parts I want to do. There is another phrase. I feel like some of these phrases actually ring more true, and we would do good to implement them. And the phrase is, more is caught than is taught. And that also is another example of how we can love our children, is just by being us, but being a good us, the us that tries in motherhood, the us that tries during pregnancy, the self that wants to emulate a positive and a happy motherhood, who wants to grow relationships with her children, and who wants to have a thriving motherhood. I think that as we just start living that, our kids, well, my hope is that they will be able to catch maybe even more than was taught just through our example. We are the example, and it is up to us to work on it. Like I say, this list that I've given you is overwhelming, or it can be, but pick one or two that ring true to you and work on it. I'll quickly run through the list, and then I also wanted to give you a couple of tips if you are in a struggling point in motherhood and really kind of hating it, but having a hard time with your children. But the list was, they need time, they need eye contact, tender touch, you to genuinely listen, to play with them, to read with them, to laugh with them, to cook with them. Remember, more is caught than taught. And I also want to mention the spiritual aspect. They need you to read scriptures with them, to pray with them and for them, and to teach them what the whisperings of the Spirit can feel like, or when they might have felt the Holy Ghost in their life. They need you to help them in this endeavor. If you are struggling, there are 2 options that I am going to give here that have helped me and that I try to implement when I am struggling and when I remember. The hard part can be remembering. Sometimes I do let my subconscious go on autopilot, and then later I'm like, why didn't I just stop and think? Anyway, the first one is just a question. It is 3 words long. And if it's in relationship or in regards to one of your children or your children that are fighting all the time, ask this question: what is needed? I've found that as I have answered that question, one child needs a little bit more time, or they need some fresh air, a change of pace, or we need to get out of the house. I tend to be a homebody and I enjoy staying home, and sometimes I probably stay home too long. Everybody kind of needs a change of scenery every now and then. Ask yourself, what is needed? And the other one is an acronym. I have been learning a lot from a mother of 11 named Janice Johnson. She doesn't have YouTube or anything, but her daughter has a podcast and a YouTube channel, and she's got some interviews. Her daughter's podcast is called Now That We Are Family, but I have learned so much from this intentional mom of 11, and I am so excited to share some of it with you. One of the things that she has talked about is the acronym STOP. STOP stands for sit, think, observe, plan. Maybe the kids are at each other, or you are just feeling stressed. Sit down, think about what is needed. What is needed for your children? Do they need some time apart? Do they need to go sit in their rooms for a minute? Do they need to go outside? Do they need some one-on-one time? Think about it. Observe what you should do and then plan. Same if you're feeling overwhelmed. Sit, think, why am I feeling overwhelmed? Is my house just way too cluttery and I need to get rid of stuff? That's interesting. I can see that could be a problem, is the clutter. And then plan. What are you going to do? I am going to carve out 15 minutes today to declutter. And you know what? I'm going to try and carve out 15 minutes tomorrow to stop and declutter. But those 2 things can be options when you feel that you are struggling. I am not perfect at motherhood. I am not perfect at pregnancy, but I am trying, and I am learning tips along the way that have seemed to help, and I want to share those with you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sharing and giving it a rating and review on iTunes, because that really does help other mothers, other intentional mothers, to find this podcast. Thank you for doing that, but most of all, thank you for implementing what you learn to become the mother that you know you can be. Until next time. Thank you for being a part of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast, for listening, for sharing, and most of all, for applying these tools into your own life to improve your own happiness so that you can find your own better thoughts for a better you in a positive pregnancy, in losing that stubborn baby weight, and becoming the mom you desire to be through taking small steps in thought and action to reach your goals. If you are a mother who has an inner desire to enjoy motherhood and pregnancy better, but you are having difficulty figuring it out, I can help you. I can help you find the small, doable steps without drastic changes to your everyday mom life. Reach out, let's connect, and let's see you move forward. My name is Jocelyn, and I thank you for listening. Until next time,